seated for a timely start. Thank you. So the declaration of opening, I welcome you all to the Shire of East Pilbara General Electors meeting of 6 February 2026 held in the Newman Council Chambers, Newman, which I declare open at 10:30 a.m. I commence today's meeting by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Nyiyaparli people, and their continuing connection to land, waters and community. I also acknowledge the Maru people as the custodians of Jigalong, which sits in Nyiyaparli country. We pay our respects to all their elders, past, present and emerging. May I ask everyone present to turn off and refrain from using their mobile phones for the duration of the meeting. Tablets and laptops are permitted for the purpose of accessing agenda items and notes. I advise all those in attendance that this meeting is being audio recorded, which can be accessed by members of the public and the media, and council members and electors should refrain from making any defamatory statements. The meeting is also being live streamed. In accordance with section 5.30 of the Local Government Act 1995, I, Anthony Middleton, as the Shire of East Pilbara President, preside at this electors meeting. This meeting will be conducted in accordance with the Shire of East Pilbara Meeting Procedure Local Law of 2019. All electors are entitled to vote. All votes will be by show of hands and will be recorded in the minutes of this meeting. Item 2 is the attendance by electronic means when no requests have been received for virtual attendance. Item 3 is a record of attendance and apologies and leave of absence. So a record of attendances will be recorded in the minutes. I'd ask all electors present to sign the attendance register for the minutes of this meeting, please. We have the council members listed, the executive team listed, Shire officers listed, and electors to be advised by the list. We have 3.2 for the apologies. We have Councillor Milton Chapman and Councillor Wayne Ball. For 3.3, there is nil leave of absence. Item 4 is disclosures of interest. Are there any disclosures of interest to be made in relation to any items on today's agenda, please? Thank you. Item 5 is confirmation of the previous minutes. So 5.1 minutes of the annual electors held on 7 February 2025 are published on the Shire's website. So as presented before you, the recommendation reads that the minutes of the general electors meeting held on 7 February 2025 as published on the Shire's website be confirmed as true and correct record of proceedings. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Bear and Councillor Brooks as a seconder. Thank you. Are there any changes that electors are seeking?
No changes, thank you.
Thank you. I shall now put this to the vote. All electors are entitled to vote. Those in favour, show of hands, please. Thank you. All for and none against. (6.1) to consideration the Shire of East Pilbara 2024-2025 annual report. So council accept the annual report from the 2024-25 financial year in its ordinary meeting on 12 December 2025. I note there was an omission in the print settings of the annual report which was cut off the two bottom lines of note 1 of the financial statements, which you will find on the bottom of page 50. These marked cross-referenced notes relating to impairment losses and non-financial assets and fair value hierarchy information. This omission has been corrected in the annual report published on the Shire's website. In accordance with section 5.27 of the Act and Regulation 15 of Local Government Administration Regulations 1996, electors present at the general meeting of electors are invited to raise for discussion any matters concerning the content of the annual report and financial statements. So there being no questions or statements made in relation to the annual report, statements and motions relating to other matters will be considered after the meeting have been dealt with the annual report. Where the recommendation now reads that the Shire of East Pilbara General Meeting of Electors receives and notes the contents of the annual report for the 2024-25 financial year in accordance with section 5.273 of the Local Government Act 1995 and Regulation 15 of the Local Government Administration Regulations in 1996. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Lockyer and Councillor Brooks as a seconder. Thank you. Are there any changes that electors are seeking? Anybody? Thank you. I shall now put this vote. All those in favour? All the councillors, thank you. None against. The President's report from 24-25 annual report. I'm pleased to present the Shire of East Pilbara 2024-2025 annual report. The region has faced a sharp increase in extreme weather events. Successive cyclones and record flooding has caused repeated widespread damage. While the Shire has significantly lifted road maintenance and grading investment in recent years, the Shire has also continued to advocate for increased funding for road network from both the state and federal governments. Our focus remains on safe, reliable and accessible roads across more than 3,200 kilometres of road network. I'm proud of the ongoing resilience of our residents and businesses as we face these unprecedented times. Over the past financial year, the Shire has continued to push ahead with a number of significant achievements, including successful grant funding of the Youth and Community Hub and considerable progress towards the completion of the Nullagine Pool. We also completed new filter installation at Marble Bar Pool to improve water clarity and ensure a healthier swimming environment. We have hosted a number of social events in 2024-25 with the NAIDOC Youth and Community Balls, fast becoming one of the premier events in the Pilbara. Nullagine was announced as the finalist in the 2025 Seven News Top Tourism Awards, and the Shire won National Airport Industry Award 2024 in the category of Small Regional RPT Airport of the Year. Council also hosted the Regional Capitals Alliance Western Australia in Newman, and we showcased some of the vibrant new artwork in town, including the Lee Lane mural, funded by the Shire of East Pilbara as a part of the upgrade to the town centre. We continue to be committed to achieving the actions of the strategic community plan and working to ensure long-term sustainability of the East Pilbara region. I look forward to continuing to work with the councillors for betterment of this district. I thank the Chief Executive Officer and his team for their ongoing hard work and commend the 2024-25 annual report to the community. Are there any questions or statements to be made in relation to the President report? The recommendation reads that the Shire of East Pilbara General Meeting of Electors receive the President's report for 24-25 financial year. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Bear, seconder Councillor McWhirter-Brooks. Are there any changes anyone is seeking? To the vote, please. All those in favour? Thank you. All for, none against. General business, item 8. In accordance with section 5.27 of the Local Government Act 1995, Regulation 15 of the Local Government Administration Regulations 1996, electors present at the general meeting of electors are invited to raise any items or general business for discussion. Please be aware that no decision taken today of the electors meeting is binding on the Shire. All motions passed by this electors meeting are to be reported to an ordinary council meeting and must be endorsed by council. Are there any items for general business for discussion? No discussion. We move on to item 9, the closure. There being no further business, I now declare... Oh, sorry. Sorry, 1 sec. If you go to the microphone, please, mate, and we'll turn it on for you.
Josh. Mr. President, Grant Brooks is my name, and a few of you know me, but I'll declare that I'm a resident of Marble Bar, a pastoralist that owns a station that surrounds the town, and my vested interest is that I'm married to Councillor McWhirter-Brooks. Having said all that, it's nothing to do with, I've got something that I want to report on that's nothing to do with particularly those positions, but it's the position and situation of the Limestone Marble Bar Road and the traffic that's on it. I think you should be made aware, and this is why I'm standing at this meeting, there is legal activity with the trucking of iron ore out of Sanjeev Ridge Mine with the MGM transport trucks. They're all doing a great job and making it happen, but the road is incapable of sustaining the situation. Limestone Marble Bar Road in particular, as well as the length of Marble Bar Road from the T-junction at the airport into the T-junction of the North West Coastal Highway, are suffering damage. But I know they're getting repaired. I know that there's repair work being done by Atlas Iron, I believe, and under the instructions of council from time to time. I think if that's correct, if I'm wrong, I'll stand corrected. But what I wanted to point out to you is that there is a situation now which I believe as an individual supports the fact that a council would be held responsible if it was a work area and a work safe situation. Council would be held enormously responsible for the fact that these roads are giving way and becoming dangerous. The particular 8 or so kilometres from the airport T-junction back into town, the Limestone Marble Bar Road, has a large creek named Duffer Creek that crosses it, and only in the last couple of days have I recognised that it's got concrete footings in it, the concrete slabs, however it's constructed, it's the base of the crossing, That has parted, it's dropped, it's come apart. And it's a large slab and there's a distance probably about 2 metres. And that's just the start of what's happening. And there's big potholes where I've observed the trucks following a truck out of town. He's gone to the opposite side of the road to pass in the creeks, in the other couple of smaller creeks. So I don't need to stand here and itemise every pothole and every scratch on the road, but I think the Shire should seriously look at the position of that section of road and judge it in view of the fact that there's been work done by Main Roads on the rest of the Marble Bar Road from the airport into the T-junction at the North West Coastal Highway. That has improved the road out of sight by comparison to that short stretch of 8 k's. Now, there are shoves in the road where the bitumen is up and in the dark. If you drive in there in the dark, sometimes you miscue because you don't see the shove in the road. And some of these are probably 100 millimetres in height or better. And if you hit one, it's like hitting a stump with the vehicle. So I don't need to carry on. I just want to suggest to you that somebody get there fast and seriously take a matter of looking at it. I do report this to the supervisors of the MGM. We have a very good relationship with MGM. I know that they're doing their job and doing it legally, so I can't complain about that. But the fact that the actions of the suspensions on the truck and the continuous weight and the volume of continuous weight is having a massive impact. And the road wasn't like that when they started back in 2021, when they started hauling ore. So you've got a downgrade of your asset there, and I think the councillors should be well informed to go and check it out and avoid maybe somebody getting killed. And the reason I say somebody getting killed, MGM and the company trucks, they've already had half a dozen accidents. I don't know what the exact number is, but there's been a number, and the last one nearly killed one of their drivers. And I've had that direct from one of the supervisors at MGM. So please put some urgency into that exercise, otherwise council or the Shire of East Pilbara may be well, I don't know, held to some degree of accountability or responsibility for something. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr Brooks. CEO?
Yeah, so thank you for that information, Grant. I think you're right, it is a public road, but this is one of the things that we have experienced. Even there was a local road here recently that BHP were using a lot, and they were doing damage, and they did go back and do it. So I think the first step is diplomacy. We approach, we check first, of course, and get some real facts on paper that we can actually show them. We'll go and see that they are very responsive generally to things, so it would be worth a conversation. Beyond that, it gets a little difficult, but we need to have a good look at it. But thank you for your information.
Yeah, thanks. That's a fair call, and I know it's a proper chain of communication rather than any other method. So, but having raised it this morning, it's now on the public record.
Yep, that sounds good. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
So if there's no others, no. Item 9 is the closure. There being no further business, I now declare the Shire of East Pilbara General Electors meeting of 6 February 2026 closed at 10:43 a.m. I'd like to thank the electors, council members and staff for their attendance. We roll straight on, or? Yeah, all right. So we'll roll straight into declaration of opening. So I welcome you all to the Shire of East Pilbara Special Council meeting of 6 February 2026 held in the Newman Council Chambers, which I declare open at 10:44 a.m. I commence today's meeting by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Nyiyaparli people, and their continuing connection to land, waters and community. I also acknowledge the Maru people as custodians of Jigalong, which is in Nyiyaparli country. We pay our respects to all their elders, past, present and emerging. May I ask everyone present to turn off and refrain from using their mobile phones for the duration of the meeting. Tablets and laptops are permitted for the purpose of accessing agenda items and notes. I advise all those in attendance that this meeting is being audio recorded, which can be accessed by members of the public and media, and council members should refrain from making any defamatory statements. The meeting is also being live streamed, a recording of which is available on the Shire's YouTube channel. Members of the public are advised that anyone that has any applications lodged with the Shire of East Pilbara must obtain and should only rely on written confirmation of the outcomes of the application and any conditions attaching to the decisions made by the Shire of East Pilbara in respect to the application. The item 2 is the electronic means, which is nil. We have the record of attendance, apologies and leave of absence there. The Shire officers, the apologies under 3.2 is Councillor Wayne Ball and Councillor Milton Chapman, and there is nil leave of absence for 3.3. Disclosure of interest. Are there any disclosure of interest to be made in relation to any of today's agenda items, councillors? Thank you. Declarations by council members to have given due consideration to all matters contained in the business papers before this meeting. All council members that are present are asked to make the declaration. Councillor Peter Bear.
I have given due consideration to all matters contained in the business papers before the meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Recorder Brooks.
I have given due consideration to all matters contained in the business papers before the meeting.
Councillor Annabelle Landy.
I have given consideration to all matters contained in the business paper before the meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Lockyer.
I have given due consideration to all the matters contained in the business papers before the meeting.
Councillor Patching.
I've given due consideration to all the matters contained in the business paper before this meeting.
Thank you. I too have given due consideration to all matters contained in the business papers before this meeting. We move on to public question time for item 6. Are there any questions relating to items on the agenda? We move into 7.1. Councillor Brooks.
Oh no, I was just saying I did email a question in this morning.
Yes.
Please, if you could come to it when you're in the matters. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So 7.1.1, the proposed Marble Bar user agreement AIM Mining Corporation. So presented before you, the recommendation reads that Council 1 accepts a payment in the amount of $412,500, including GST, from AIM Mining Corporation Limited for past use to end of January 2026 of Marble Bar Airport for an all-inclusive access fee to the airport. 2, in relation to 2 above, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to enter an agreement with AIM Mining Corporation Limited in the following terms. A, $30,000 plus GST per calendar month for the use of Marble Bar Airport for all operating maintenance overheads, other costs associated with the airport in consideration of AIM Mining Corporation Limited's use of the airport and its facilities during the life of the agreement, noting a pro rata fee will apply for use of the airport for less than a calendar month. And 3, in accordance with section 9.49A of the Local Government Act 1995, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to affix the common seal of the Shire of East Pilbara to the agreement. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Recorder Brooks. Seconder, please. Councillor Lockyer. The mover like to speak?
Nothing to add.
Thank you. Seconder? Thank you. Any other councillor wish to speak? Sorry? Sure.
So,
Only in,
sorry. So Wendy did send through a question, Councillor Brooks, in relation to the tripart agreement. So there's 2 agreements, just to give some clarity. This agreement's really around with AIM to pay for, really, it's all our ARO costs, which we've got contracted out. The view is that there will be a tripartite agreement between AIM, Atlas Iron and the Shire. And the actual idea is that we don't pay for the operating costs, that it's borne by the 2 mining companies. And we've been going through a very long-winded process between the 2 companies to try and work out what the arrangement would be in terms of the cost-sharing part of that. They have come back. I asked them to work it out how they think they should do it. The bottom line is they want to make sure we get paid. So that agreement will cover off additional costs. This one covers off the responsible officer costs, so that we comply with the CASA requirements. If we don't have an ARO there, it's not CASA approved airport. The other agreement will take into account things that they may want, like a weather station and other bits and pieces. It's capital investment and it's operational costs, of which I have been pushing very strongly that they will do that. They have given me a draft agreement. The draft agreement's got more questions and answers at the moment, and certainly in the next 2 weeks, I will be in Perth, sitting face to face with our lawyers, to work through what we can accept, what we can't accept. That being said, Atlas Iron are very keen to operate out of Marble Bar. They're very keen to have already started doing development there in relation to dongers and the like, accommodation within, not accommodation, places for their people to be while they're waiting for the planes, and toilet upgrades. So we just got to go through that agreement. We're just making sure that we get the ducks lined up because that agreement will hold for a long, long time. There's certain things that they were worried about. What happens if a third party comes in? So we've got all those sort of requirements in there to address those. But we need to go through a process with them. They've given us their crack at it. Now we're telling them what we can't do and what we can do. But the ultimate idea is that we're not paying for the airport because they wanted it for their operations. The idea is also that that we will be accommodating people to fly down to Perth and back, which they are all in agreement with. Keeping in mind that AIM is not Calidus. It's a different promises made by Calidus at the time don't necessarily hold now, but they are both on the same page with that. So that's what we're working through now. We'll start really the heavy engagement with them now. We're in the box seat a little bit on this because Atlas Iron want to get there quick. They want to be flying in by June. So we're working through those negotiations now. But we just got to push away from the mining wins to the airport wins and the community wins. Some of the things that we're looking at in relation to that agreement, which I think is worth noting, is that we're looking at whether or not we'll charge a fee for private citizens, a number that's appropriate, and that money will go into a kitty somewhere, which we'll then reinvest back in the community for the community benefit. So that's where we're at. They're not looking at making money on the tickets or the sale of the aeroplane flights. Probably goes against their charter rules, to be honest. But they're quite happy that we charge and then put it in the kitty for discussion. But we're going to say we're probably halfway through negotiations, if I was to be honest, around because there'll be some argy-bargy around that responsibility for costs. Yep.
Sorry, Peter, do you want to comment first?
If Wendy's responding to what
Okay, cool.
Steve said, but the public gallery mic's still on if someone doesn't mind turning it off.
Yep.
Just a question about you mentioning putting the funds from the possibility of the proceeds of ticket sales going into a community chest per se. Can we make sure that Nullagine is included in that, because the operations of both companies' mines are out of Nullagine as well? So that may be a useful bargaining chip with the two mining companies, and also it does spread that benefit across our shire.
I think that calls out to make. We can spread it wherever we wish, but obviously we want to be pushing it in the northern part of our shire. So I would agree that Nullagine and Marble Bar would be both on the table. Let's see how much money we get first. Let's see what we're talking about. It could be very little, or it could be a bit more. But absolutely, that's something the council can consider. This will be a council decision on where we spend the money. Okay.
Thank you. Any other comments on that one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I just wanted to clarify the officer recommendation says we accept a payment in the amount of $412,500, but then the bottom recommendation, financial implications, says that we would get an immediate recovery of $379,500, and I'm just wondering what.
Printing error, apparently.
Yeah, that's a good pick up. So for clarification, when we originally were doing this report, it was 379, and but what we've done is added on the additional months because it hasn't been approved by council, saying that, so up to this date you'll clear your debt, which will be now 412. But we can make the amendment to rectify that. But the number we're looking for would be 412 up front, and here on in be 33,000 with the GST included, until this tripartisan agreement's in place, where the number will probably go up. I'm going to say it will go up based on what calculations I've done, but both mining companies will be wearing that cost. Yep.
Yeah, that's how I understood it.
Yep.
Point 2, in relation to 2 above, is that supposed to be in relation to 1 above? Do we need to have an amendment on that, or is it just a typo? Just looking at the officer recommendation, point 2. In relation to 2 above, authorises to, I think it should be 1 above.
That should be 1. That should be 1, Wendy. That's apologies for that.
You still going? Yep.
I just wanted to confirm there's nothing in the recommendations about when we're going to review because you said that there's a potential that it goes up at some point. How does that work in terms of like this agreement here? Is this the formal agreement, just this motion, or is there another document that gets signed to formalise that agreement? And does that have a clause of when we're reviewing the costs?
Valid.
Yeah, a good question. So this is really the terms, and there will obviously be agreement. We're assuming, we very much based on where we're going, this will be a very short-term agreement. So absolutely, we get the tripart agreement in place, which Atlas Sign definitely wants. They've invested $5+ million in this airport. When we do the construction, that agreement will go away and disappear. So this one, the new one will stay, the old one will go. At the moment, I'll have to look at the question on review of the increased costs, but that could be in the agreement. We could put that in the actual official agreement. Any increases we get from ARO costs could be incorporated.
Okay.
Yeah, but this one, Peter's referring to this one only. The shooting is in its, and I take your point. So if you wanted to amend this,
I think it would be ideal if we amend it just so that the council have clarity around that it will be reviewed and that it doesn't end up sitting.
can I make a suggestion then? So on 2A, at the end of that 2A sentence, that we say that while this agreement is in place, that any ARO cost increases will be transferred to AIM, and I can work that through with them. So if the next price is 32, say a month, they'll pay 32 plus GST, and that will cover that cost. So basically, the idea was that we're not out of pocket operationally. Capital is a different issue, so that's what the tripartisan agreement will bolster up. And they're already on board with that. They're just going to need to know the numbers.
Mover has no objection.
Cost plus model or?
Oh, I just want costs at the moment.
Do we have some suggested wording? Is it for what you're saying, so that I can?
Yes.
think? And is it,
Josh is
is
working
it
that
a
right now.
2B instead of like on the end of 2A?
Yeah, under 2A, yeah.
Can I just say that whatever the wording is, that we are clear with it, because it seems like it can be perceived that with this airport and that the goalposts have been shifted a few times. So if we are clear around what our expectations are, that it's worded correctly as well.
So if I can give some background why this is now, they're very keen to sign this agreement. I agree with you, what you're saying, Councillor. But we certainly threatened that they could no longer land unless they paid us the money and they signed an agreement, and they know that is real. So, and this is critical to their operations, and it's only fair that they do pay. So, absolutely, we'll make sure that word is clear.
As stated up there, we've got a 2B. Whilst this agreement remains in place, any indexation in the costs of operations, maintenance, overheads and other costs are to be met by AIM Mining Corporation. Councillor Brooks is the mover. Are you happy with that?
Yes,
Councillor, thank you. Councillor Lockie is the seconder. Are you happy with that?
Yep.
And Councillor Bear as the yes, happy with that. Everybody else around the table happy with that? Cool. Please do, Joshua.
So just through the chair, the reason that indexation, suggesting the use of indexation, is that this would avoid an unlikely consequence of the contractor having a free-for-all to impose whatever increases in their costs and the other party having to just bear those. indexation is more controlled and reflects like real cost growth rather than rent taking.
Thank you. Any other comments on this one? Put to the vote, please. All those in favour? All for, none against, is carried. Moving on to 7.1.2, the RFT 05-2024/25, the Newman Wastewater Treatment Plant Detailed Design and Construct, negotiation of commercial terms. Where these officers' recommendation read that Council 1, pursuant to Section 6.20 of the Local Government Act 1995, the Act authorises the borrowing of an additional amount of maximum up to $2,100,000 for the purposes of wastewater treatment plant upgrade, and authorise the Chief Executive Officer to give public notice to the exercise of the power to borrow in accordance with Section 6.202 of the Act. 2, pursuant to Section 6.8 of the Act, adopts this budget amendment as published in the agenda. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Lockyer, thank you. Seconder? Councillor Bear, thank you. Councillor Lockyer, do you wish to speak?
I have questions. More so, I just want to understand how we've gone from like a almost $10 million increase when it states that the revisions around better, I guess, resourcing and trying to make the most of what we're looking for. Can you just try and explain what the difference is?
So the reason, so if I just go back just half a step just so we can get this all in context. So we went out, did the expression of interest approach. We've got our tenders on the table. We've chosen the company that is best suited to do it. There was a variation. They had a range of savings that they proposed, and we wanted to go through those savings because we didn't believe that they were necessarily real. So we've been going through two parts. We've changed. So we've got the contracts finalised in terms of its form. That's taken some time because they're lawyers, our lawyers. Around the price stuff, we've been involving Water Corp, ourselves, and obviously, and these guys are very technical and around the design. We are using, if I can talk about what the next step is after this, because I think it's really important to understand. We're asking for additional funds because that's where it's got to with all the different bits of technical information, all the equipment you are going to need to run this plant at 3.6 megalitres. So they were trying to do some savings, like let's not put in the second clarifier. Let's wait till the demand gets there. But what we're trying to avoid is in 3 years' time that we're going to put a clarifier tank in. That doesn't make no sense. It's not a scale. You want to build a sewage plant that's going to meet the capacity within Newman with a fully occupied housing stock and caravan parks, etc., which is 3.6 max, with a 3 for a 3.6 maximum flow. So we're making sure it does that. There's certain things that we had to look at was around the sludge management. They're proposing, initially the design had drying bed, there's a lot of drying beds. We've gone to a mechanical process because it's actually working out to be cheaper than to go to drying beds. But making sure and putting a bit more robustness around that. So if we get that mix wrong, you're going to have a very sloppy sludge at the end of it, which we can't manage. Working with Water Corp, we've gone through, because there should be thickeners and other bits and pieces up front. So those additional costs we've put in there to make sure that this is going to hold. On the basis, what we're asking for today is money so that we can actually finish the negotiations around price, but it's not over in the negotiations. So Tom and myself will be going to Perth next Friday and sitting around the table with Water Corp. We've had a meeting with Water Corp outside. We believe that there's still savings to be cut, and I'm talking in the millions, to be cut off the price. So we're going to get into that. So we're comparing this site to one at Margaret River, which is very similar to what we're doing. There's a few anomalies and changes, but we are using Water Corp to negotiate the price down to a number that is actually reflective of today's market. Estimates historically have been around that 34 to 36 million. That was some time ago, a couple of years ago. Prices are going up, and that's what the cost is. So we're holding them to account to bring the price right back, because we're very conscious that we're borrowing all the money. for this sewage plant, and it's over 40 years. It's a long time. And I want to go to your question in a minute, Wendy, around your question around the sewage plant. Absolutely, it should be funded by, not just us, it should be funded by the state, but it is not. But there's another part of the project we still have to do. So that's, I don't know if I explained it well enough to you, Lou, but we're making sure all the units that we need in there, it's not special, it's not any extra, it's what you actually need to run a sewage plant. We've gone to the basic, we're not wasting any money here. I've been very conscious about money, I've been telling them that. But their numbers are going up, and obviously they think that they've got a home run here. That's not the way this works. We've got Water Corp in the room, and we'll be robustly going through each of the items, because we believe that there's means we could take off the price at this stage. But we just want to make sure I've got the capacity to finish the deal.
Okay.
At the moment, if it is sat at 49, we can't really afford to keep hanging around. Like, we've done this, the designs are done. I would rather prefer it to be a much lower number, and that's what we're going to be pushing very hard on. But I just need the ability to be able to enter into a contract. And the contract is here, it's done. I just need a number now.
Okay.
So that we can start. It's going to take 2 years to build this thing. So I don't want to delay it unnecessarily, but I think we need to get on with it.
Two things. Has Thomas been introduced to council? Because didn't know who he was.
Sorry, my apologies if he has not. Tom is our, so I created an extra area under me directly, which is major projects.
Okay.
And major projects is obviously a major project. So
Right.
Tom and his team have been working very diligently on with me on this to try and get this over the line with the lawyers and on the technical elements with Water Corp. And so we are basically, if we can get the price sorted on Friday next week,
Yeah.
I want to be ready to sign a contract on Monday, Tuesday.
All right. The second thing I want to understand, because this water treatment plant has been critical
Yes.
for a number of years, and I kind of thought that during this whole process, the reasons why it was such a hold up is because we wanted to make sure that it was fit for purpose.
Yes.
And what's our current population at now? 5,000?
So I can go by flow. That's probably the best
Well,
way to
I'll just
yeah.
stab in the dark based on
7,000.
ABS. You're right.
7, yeah.
It's about
5 to 7.
5 million, 5,000.
Yes.
At our peak, we're at 12,000 people.
Yes.
So, and there was minimal failure then. So what I want to understand is, what is our target for what good looks like when our new, shiny new
Okay.
shit plant is in place?
So it's really hard to do it on population. It's based on the number of blocks of land.
Yeah. Really?
That could be, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So you've got blocks of lands that could be serviced, which is a house, and that could be 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, pick a number. On average, you normally get 2.5.
What's the average they'd pick then? Because
normally on the
this is
design, they would go
unlimited then, right?
Well, some places that would be arguable, yes. But normally they do around 2.5 people per house, because that sort of covers your big families and your small families. So you need to, if we're going to build this sewage plant and you want to build this once, it needs to be able to deal with the full capacity of this town.
And what is our target then? Based on current numbers that you're giving them, like, what are we aiming for?
Well, I've got to base it on place. At the moment, we're sitting around 2 to 2.1 megalitres per day.
Okay.
Except for peak, it'll go up during peak periods, which is shutdowns and other things. But Caravan Park being fully developed, all the blocks with houses on them, it may not be this year, it could be 5 years' time. You've got to remember, this is a 40-year asset. So we're basing on full build-out of this town. So we are having issues at the sewage plant, there's no question, and we probably don't bring them to council all the time. But we are having failures, and the mechanical side of this is a real problem for us.
Yeah.
So there is a critical level here. For the first period of my tenure here, we've been trying to get money from other people. We're not getting money from the mining sector. We cannot get Water Corp at all interested in funding this. The Premier was in my office.
So back to the question that Lou raised was, so you said 2, but it's for a max of 3.6
yeah,
megalitres is what,
Alright.
what the answer is to your question.
Thank you.
So we're currently at 2.2, and the new facility.
And it peaks at the moment during shutdowns, it's to what?
You can get 2.5 at times.
Yeah, okay.
You know, so we
And
got,
the new facility will be up to 3.6.
yeah, absolutely.
3.6.
Yes.
Yeah, all right. I mean, we have to do what we have to do. I'm just, like, to me, the creep is a bit
Well,
too, like, how are we going to control this? Because it is such a huge number, right? And like you
Yes.
said, we're borrowing it. So we have to be able to service that.
yes, and I've,
loan,
and I've
so to
looked
speak,
at that.
so-
Yes. I've also looked at that element,
Yeah.
but so we're capping it at this number, and this has got some provisional sums in there as well. Before we negotiate, there's provisional sums included in that number. So we'll be making sure that it doesn't go over the 49 million, but we're expecting the number to be a lot less than that. But we just need a little bit of room to move, even if we negotiate a lower number, a little bit of room to move over that period. You can rest assured we do not want to borrow any more than we have to borrow. The smaller the better, but I'm just conscious that I need your authority to even enter this contract, pardon me, at above. If it was a million extra, not $2 million, I would still need your authority to actually move forward.
I've never seen a tender be put in at a certain price and then go to
Well, I prefer to.
extra the next stage.
I would prefer to be upfront and tell you where we're at, as opposed to go in at 34 million or 35 or 36, and then come back and then say, I'm sorry, we got it wrong. We have been really tight on making sure that we get everything in there, and making sure that there's no wiggle room. It's very much based on performance. So if they don't perform and they've got to do extra stuff, it's at their costs, not at our cost. So we put those sort of provisions in there to protect, because I'm very conscious of blowout here.
Okay.
Councillor Bear?
Yep. I just wanted to, I assume it's a typo, but item 1 of the recommendation states 2.1 million and the entire report quotes 2.1, but the budget amendment is listed as 2.9 million. Or at least it is on the resolve, listed as 2.9.
Table.
And then I also did want to move an amendment to the motion as well, please.
You can.
Are you good for that one?
We'll just wait for the clarification. What do we do?
I was just waiting to check that one
Yeah,
before I
yeah,
start talking.
yeah.
And he needs to tippy tap away and.
Where are we, Tom? 2.1?
Yeah, everything else in the report says 2.1. It's just that
Should be 2.1.
the item for
Sorry, apologies. That should
item 2 says 2.9.
That should be 2.1 on the bottom table.
Okay, so can I move a correction to item 2? And then can I also please move that we add an item 3, that a report is tabled to council every 2 months on the progress of the construction and the expended budget. Because again, we're borrowing it, it's a lot of money, and I know that those sorts of things do come in the documents we've already got, but I think I would prefer it separately.
We could put in this recommendation, there's no dramas. We'll be doing it, we'll know monthly anyway, and that'll be in our major projects upgrade sheet anyway. So
It's just that
that's no drama.
accountability of like it being something that council has very clearly stated that we are keeping on top of this. Because
Sure.
again, it's 40 years, it's the future of the town,
Absolutely. Yes.
and so that's,
No, there's no issue. We'll have the numbers, we'll have them there. So,
yeah,
and there'll be a slow burn, and then it'll be a very sharp
yeah.
burn up. So,
Do you have wording, Josh?
So Peter,
Yes.
did you mention an amendment to item 2 first?
yes.
Did you say you wanted an
That's
amendment?
the correction to the table where it says 2.9 million.
Oh, sorry, yeah, for the actual report. Yeah, sorry. I thought you meant the actual in the recommendation.
It is in the recommendation.
Yeah.
On that recommendation.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
One that I have in front of me, which I downloaded from
I don't have that
Resolve
one with me. Yes,
5 minutes before the meeting.
Yeah, right.
And then, yes, moving a
Yeah.
third item, please, for a
Two-monthly update.
two-monthly report, please, on progress of the build and the expended budget.
yep, that's no problem.
So while that's happened, I've got one question. So what's the, I totally understand, you're trying to screw the dollars down, so you're asking for the dollars to negotiate the contract. what is the envisaged, and you mentioned millions off it, what's the envisaged millions?
I really can't say in this forum. I don't think it's appropriate that I do that because it's up for negotiation. This is a public meeting. It's commercials, and I would prefer not to. I'm happy to tell you off the record, but on the record, I don't think that's probably a smart move. We need to
Can we move to
negotiate
behind
this.
closed doors then? Because I'd like to do this before we, before we sign off on it. So can I procedural motion move us behind closed doors? Sorry, Josh.
Sorry. No, you just
Can I
want
please
to-
move a procedural motion that council close the meeting to the public in accordance with section 5.234C I and II of the Local Government Act 1995 to consider the confidential material? Is that good by you?
You want to move that?
Move? Yeah,
Yep.
I'm moving that,
And-
thank you.
Councillor Lockyer seconds that. Everyone in favour? Yes? Excellent. So move behind closed door.
The public gallery, so.
Yep. I'll wait for your confirmation of the cancel of live stream.
I didn't get the public gallery.
Hang on, we're not there yet. We're still recording. And live streaming.
That's right. It's one of these days.
Wrong page, wrong screen. Anyway, back to, once you've done that, are you happy?
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay, thank you. Oh. Once we're streaming again, we're streaming? Good. Do you want to drag that amendment across, because we haven't? Yes. So you, okay, sweet. Yep. So Councillor Lockie is the mover and Councillor Bear is the seconder. Are you happy with the amendment on screen that reads, 1, corrects budget amount from 2.1 million to 2.1 million from 2.9 million, and 2, add new part 3, that a report be provided to council every 2 months on the progress of project expenditure and construction? Yes? Thank you. Councillors. That being said, are you, unless there's any more commentary? No more commentary? This is an absolute majority decision of council. So now I put the amended version, or the added version to you all. Those in favour, please, show of hands. All for, none against. That is carried. Thank you. 7.2.1, the award of tender RFT 06-2025/26 cleaning services. So the opposite recommendation reads that Council 1 awards tender RFT 06-2025/26 for cleaning services to Spick and Span Commercial Property Maintenance for the annual tendered price provided in confidential appendix 2 to this report. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to finalise the contract between the Shire of East Pilbara and Spick and Span Commercial Property Maintenance with the initial term to be for a 3-year period. 3, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to extend the contract with the same conditions for the following further option period. A further 2-year period on expiry of the initial contract term. 4, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to approve any minor contract variations during the contract duration in accordance with Council's minor variation policy, and authorise the Chief Executive, and 5, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to apply a common seal of the Shire of East Pilbara to a contract between Spick and Span Commercial Property Maintenance and Shire of East Pilbara. 6, pursuant to section 5.234CI and 2, 5.234C1 and 2 of the Local Government Act 1995, that Appendix 2 to the report be withheld from publications as a confidential item. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor McWhirter-Brooks. Seconder, Councillor Bear. Councillor McWhirter-Brooks, do you wish to speak?
Nothing to add, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bear. Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Show of hands, please. All those in favour? All for and none against. Is carried. There is no confidential matters behind closed door for item 8. The date of the next meeting for the ordinary council meeting is scheduled for 27 February 2026 and will be held in the Newman Council Chambers. And item at 10, there being no further business, I now declare the Shire of East Pilbara Council meeting 6 February 2026 closed at 11:26 a.m. I'd like to thank council members and staff for their attendance. Thank you.